Welcome to Edison Open Forum Cannabinoids 2021. My name is Vivienne Parry. Now, legalization, increasing acceptance and demand for both pharmaceutical and consumer products mean the cannabinoid industry is booming. By 2026, the global market is estimated to be worth $60 billion, but biosynthesis could take it to new heights. Edison Open Forum asked the brightest minds in CBD what they think the impact of biosynthesis will be. What's next for their sector? With me is Eyal Barad, CEO of Cannabics Pharmaceuticals. Eyal, hello.
Hi, Vivienne. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. And tell me a bit more about Cannabics. What does it do?
Well, our company develops anti-tumor and anti-cancer therapies. And our main focus has been for quite some time around colorectal cancer. Accordingly, our mission at Cannabics Pharmaceuticals, our ticker CNBX, is to redefine colorectal cancer and by developing new and novel innovative anti-cancer therapies. So in order to address the treatment needs of patients, and we look to achieve improved patient outcome from this.
Now, why did you think that the pharmaceutical content of cannabis would be appropriate for colorectal cancer? What makes you think that this is going to be a worthwhile avenue to pursue?
Well, first of all, we saw it in our in-house laboratory in our preclinical studies that we did. We saw the efficacy of various cannabinoids on various cancers. So we've been doing this research for many years now. It's been over 5-6 years we've been screening various cannabinoids across various cancers under a license we have from the Israeli Ministry of Health. We are receiving biopsies from hospitals here in Israel, so that allows us to test live, fresh biopsies on patients. And that moved us into animal studies where we also saw efficacy in reducing tumor sizes and actually survival rate. So that kind of got us very, very excited, and that's where we are today.
And where are you going in terms of trials and further development?
Well, our aim is actually to go to a pre-IND meeting, I'd say within the next 6 months or so. And from there, we'd like to move into a 1/2A meeting, a 1/2A trial, clinical trial in human, first in human trial.
And do you think that the increasing awareness of cannabis and the increasing acceptance of cannabis more generally has been helpful in what you've been doing?
I think it's been very helpful. The growing market, from a pharmaceutical perspective, the most important growth driver for the pharmaceutical industry is the growing research into the medicinal properties of minor cannabinoids. For example, we've seen research into CBN for treating sleeping disorders, CBG for treating glaucoma and bladder dysfunctions, and CBDV as an anti-epileptic agent. And of course, our formulations that are based on minor cannabinoids and that are targeting cancer itself. So other evidence of this important growth that we're seeing is the rapidly saturating IP environment for minor cannabinoids, which we see as a big indication to the coming growth in demand. And so I see the incorporation of minor cannabinoids into the pharmaceutical industry in general is an important driving factor for the sector at large.
And currently, how do you obtain your cannabinoids? And will biosynthesis have an impact on that?
So synthesis of cannabis allows cannabinoids to be developed in batch runs and under very highly controlled conditions, and more efficiently and more cost effective, and using fewer resources, I'd say, than which provides more opportunity for consistency and quality, especially in minor cannabinoids, which are found in small quantities in the plant matter. All these elements are very critical in the medical applications and eventually FDA approval. Biosynthesis is a technology in its early stages of development for cannabinoids. My personal opinion is that it shows a lot of promise, in terms of several potential important advantages to the pharmaceutical companies. The technology still needs further development for pharmaceutical companies to rely on it for their regulatory manufacturing needs. And we are currently looking at synthetic manufacturers in the US.
Because the other impact it would have is on sustainability, because, for instance, if you're growing crops in glass houses, they require a huge amount of energy to sustain them. And the proportion of the cannabinoid that you want can vary from plant to plant if you're growing out in the wild, as it were, crops.
Yeah, when you're looking at the plant and you're looking at minor cannabinoids, sometimes they're under 1% of the total plant mass. So sometimes you would need acres and acres to supply a single human being with one single minor cannabinoid for a monthly dosage. So that does not make sense economically or sustainability-wise. That's why we are definitely looking at the biosynthetic and synthetic formulations, and more so at synthetic at the moment.
Are there any risks in adopting a biosynthesis approach to your business model?
Well, it's just not there yet. The minute the biosynthesis sector will have FDA or API GMP approved product that is pharmaceutical based, we will be there to try and adapt that if it makes financial sense. Currently, it's not there. There are no GMP providers of minor cannabinoids, maybe CBD, but probably none of the others. I think some of the companies are close to getting there, but not yet there.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because you, of course, we talk about crop failures being a problem, but actually biological systems can also fail in biosynthesis. So they're not, even if they're developed well, you can still lose a batch.
You can still lose a batch, then it's only a batch. There's ways of overcoming those risks, I think. I think more is kind of developing. It takes a while to develop the process and the IP around biosynthesis. We've discussed it with many companies that are involved in it today. They're all extremely working very hard, and we would support them in any way possible. Obviously, any sort of solution to minor cannabinoids that is effective and sustainable is something that we are looking at.
So what's next for Cannabics?
Well, Cannabics is based basically on three different things. What we're looking at is our in-house drug discovery, and the output there is our drug candidates. Our IP, which is the second pillar of our activity, and protecting our unique methodologies and formulations, which once again, the output there are patents. And the regulatory pathway, which is to show initial feasibility and move forward towards a 1/2A clinical trial, first in human trial.
Do you think there's a bit of concern or more concern in the regulatory space than perhaps there are with medicines or substances that are not derived from a plant widely regarded as narcotic?
No, I think it's pretty much the same. When you're talking about the minor cannabinoids, first of all, we already have one product that has been approved by the FDA, produced by GW Pharmaceuticals with CBD. So that's kind of broken through and broken the ice, I would say, as far as the regulatory bodies in the US. But no, it's treated as any other molecule would be. In some ways, and we're still, around discussions on the regulatory side on that, but it might be easier because there might be other such studies on toxicity and otherwise.
And colorectal is your main focus at the moment, but what other indications are you looking at?
So our first, obviously, indication, and we've been working on it for quite some time, is colorectal cancer. We're also looking at breast cancer, we're looking at prostate cancer, and we're looking at melanoma.
So all very important and numerically important cancers. I want to ask you, we said at Edison Open Forum, brightest minds, well, you're one of those. So we're going to ask you this question is, where do you think the future of this sector is going? What's next?
I think the more and more research that is being done on basically on what people are saying and what people are feeling, and the more scientific data and research that is done, I think the sector will grow to take advantage of that. We believe that it's only just begun. We're only at the tip of the iceberg. Once again, there's only been one pharmaceutical drug approved in the US so far by GW. We expect that that has kind of broken through, and more products will come into play. And we intend to be a part of that.
What I'm hearing from you is really of an industry growing up, an industry that goes beyond where it's possibly currently at, where you've got CBD in everything from, you know, toothpaste to washing powder. That phase perhaps may fall away a little, but where you're at, where, you know, the use of cannabinoids highly targeted for particular disease is one that's going to grow and grow. Would that be fair?
I agree with that statement.
Good. And finally, just give me the Cannabics pitch. How would you outline your current investment case for potential buyers?
Our flagship product, once again, is targeted for the colorectal market, which is a very large and growing market. Currently, colon cancer is growing from a $12 billion business to a $17 billion business by 2027. And that's at a compound growth rate of about 5%. It's also characterized by a high unmet need. So colorectal cancer remains the third most diagnosed cancer worldwide and second most lethal cancer worldwide, with approximately 150,000 new deaths in the US and over 50,000 deaths annually. So we see the potential here is very, very large. We're going after a market that's very large and that has a huge high unmet medical need.
Eyal Barad, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Vivienne. Pleasure talking to you.